staggering, not to death.
Its time is now 7:30.
All right, I want to open this meeting of the Mendon Board of Health. The first thing I want to do is thank everyone on the team for everything that they do every day. This office is much busier than I ever imagined. And even after being here all these years, something new happens all the time. So thank you very much to all the members of the team, again, for what you guys do every day. If Tom Ryder is here,
No, Tom Ryder called me on Monday. He had an unexpected conflict of interest for scheduling, so he's going to try to make it to the next scheduled Board of Health meeting.
okay, that's fine. So we can go to the second item on the agenda, the contract update with E.L. Harvey.
All right, the Board of Health has received an addendum from E.L. Harvey for fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 26. The current contract expires this July 1st. So the addendum reflects the new trash recycling automation program and the new annual rates. I sent an email out to town council on June 6th, attaching the addendum and the contract that we currently have with E.L. Harvey for her review, and also to ask if the addendum was suitable to either replace the current contract or to be representative of the new contract. Town council responded this morning that a new contract should be issued to the town to include the changes proposed on the addendum. I sent Mike Sesband from E.L. Harvey the town council's request for a new contract, and he will work on it and should have it by the next scheduled Board of Health meeting.
Yeah, next meeting is the
June the 8th, 28th, correct.
So.
Just getting it in under the wire.
Sure.
Is Mike, does he understand the particulars? Why is it getting on?
Yeah, I sent him the response from town council. He mentioned that he did an addendum with Bellingham. Bellingham accepted it as good to go. He thought Menon would be the same way, but we're not.
Yeah, I assume the same thing. Where it's all kind of the same.
Yeah.
Except for what they changed, but whatever town council tells us.
From my perspective, I was always of the belief, we should always, because the original contract was old and done with, so my view from a legal perspective was that we should always have a new contract presented to us. Because we had already had 2 option years from the old one,
Right.
and once the last option year ends, which is this year, that's it. Give us a new, and there's so many changes happening. I wanted that verbiage to be accurate, correct, and all captured. Put it in the contract, because the way that contract base is set up, I don't think that verbiage is completely matching.
No, not now, the new automation program.
That would have been my concern.
Okay, I thought the addendum, so to speak, covered that, but good point.
Well, the addendum kind of covered the changes, but the base contract had a lot of things in it that don't pertain to the new woman. So, you know, he did kind of talk about eliminating one section, adding another, but my personal think that
Well,
I'm glad it's going to be.
yeah, whatever it is, yeah. It's gonna be in place for 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, so,
It'll be a contract for 3 years with an option for 2 more. It's like the old one. And just for those listening, we have somebody on, yeah.
Maybe it's Karen in.
So that they understand that it is a 3-year contract with an option. 2 1-year extensions.
Karen, I'm just curious, can you hear us okay?
I can, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hello, Karen.
good evening.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so any other comments on that agenda item?
Let's take a look. Item 4.
Yeah, she left that blank. She left that open.
That's okay. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to capture, so just wait.
All right, very good. So we'll get our new contract and we should be good to go on 6/28. Item number 3. Trash accommodations for handicap and senior residents. I've received one phone call from a resident of Washington Street who over 70 has used her body extensively during her career. And not that she has far to go from her front stoop to the curb, but she's concerned about being able to handle the size of the toters. And in further conversation with her today, it appears that the injuries to her body, which can't be fixed, it's the rolling action that would affect her. A lot of times, she actually sent me a picture. She's putting out a trash bag, trash, and half a trash bag of recycling. So it's not the type of the material.
Right.
And it's not even the size of the total, it's the dragging action that prevents her from easily being able to do that.
May I ask if she is using a barrel right now, or she's just leaving the bags out at the
Just
curb?
leaving the bags.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to review the picture again. I know on occasion, she may use like a 32-gallon size trash can, but it's not full. Just,
So I've had 3 different people call me. And I did speak to Mike about it. Because I thought if I talked to him, then I would have some information. And we agreed that we would address that in the same manner. So she could put out 2 bags if she wanted to. And the people with whom I spoke, I told also that, so there's 4 of them now that have, had a problem, that they could do that. They could put out a bag and Phil will take it,
Just a bag by itself. no
whatever
receptacle.
they, but I mean,
No receptacle, no total.
no, they don't have to. Because like one of my persons has been, had a handicap from birth and has a long driveway. What she's always done is just put the bag in the car in her garage and then drive up to the spot where just drag it out. He said he understands that.
It's nice that they can accommodate those circumstances. We may have another couple that may crop up as this kind of.
Right.
goes along, right?
yeah, I know, I have a landscaping customer on Providence Road. And their driveway is probably 500 feet. Wow. Uphill.
Wow,
So they use one small trash can, they put it in the back of the Volvo and they drive it to the curb. Well, they're not gonna be able to do that with the toters. Now, they haven't said anything to me,
right,
but on my own, I've already started to look as I blow their driveway with my lawn for a spot.
right.
where
If
we
they
can-
could have a 35 too, instead of,
So I'm looking for a spot, with maybe a small section of fence to kind of just, disguise them a little bit.
right,
That will only be maybe 30 feet off the curb,
Right.
not the earliest part of the driveway. And my suggestion was gonna be, as they collect their trash in their kitchen-sized trash bags, then on their way out the next day, they
Yeah.
just put them in the toter, and then they just have to
just.
move that toter the last 30 feet.
Right,
It's on wheels, and obviously I plow the driveway for them, so I would not plow it in.
right.
I put the snow on the other side. So
I,
for my clients, I've already started to kind of brainstorm on how I can help them adjust to this new system. And I'm gonna have to do the same thing. I mean, my driveway is a 1/5 of a mile.
oh gee,
And I'm not picking those toters up, put them in the back of the pickup truck the way I do my
Yeah.
32-gallon trash cans. So I'm gonna put something 30 feet off the end of the driveway. You happen to have one of those plastic sheds that we used to use for the kids' toys and
Yeah,
all our
yeah,
athletic
yeah.
equipment. I think I'm gonna move that
Yeah,
30 feet, the street. And if I have to decorate it a little bit, so be it. And that's where my quotas will be. So that I too can adapt to the new system. In discussions with Mike through Jack, it sounds like in Hopedale, we're very fortunate that Hopedale has instituted a very similar program months before us.
So we learned from them.
That's right. Mike only had recommendations for like 4 hours. So, I told this woman from Washington Street that we would figure it out. Every situation is gonna be a little different. And we're all gonna have to, communicate and we'll figure it out.
Is this woman about halfway down Washington Street?
Yeah,
There's a couple of things in her backyard.
Were you able to reach with Jason Cooter about the,
I did, and I'm gonna follow that up over the weekend, hopefully. I reached out to Jason, because I knew he was involved in the Boy Scout program. He has passed the baton, but on Thursday night, he's meeting with the person that he passed the baton to. I was hoping maybe we had some local Boy Scouts that would be scattered through town, had to do community service,
Right.
and would be able to help a neighbor out if a neighbor was in need.
Right.
So I'm waiting to get some feedback for that. I also thought, was it Jen? We talked about, there was something about, building like a doghouse.
I
structure.
talked to, not Mike Fitzpatrick, brother, who I know close. He's in charge of construction, and, I talked to him about having the kids do some kind of like a cubby that could be tucked into the side or something if that was, and he was very agreeable to that. Of course, I talked to him in the last 3 weeks and that school's over next
Right.
week, so, and they had just done over their whole department doing it over, so he said, he would do that. Mark
Okay.
Fitzpatrick, yeah,
Yes, okay. So there's some possibilities
right.
depending upon someone's situation.
And I did talk to somebody that I know, Eddie Shea, young Eddie, but he's not on the Boy Scouts anymore, even though he does do stuff, they pick up bottles, he's one of the bottle guys. And, I mentioned to them, like their, program for Eagle Scout or something like that,
Yeah, so there are some opportunities. I'm glad that we're talking about this before we get phone calls, but as the phone calls come in,
Right,
and as we hear that people are having
or difficulty.
difficulty adjusting to the new program. We've got some possible options to try to help them out.
Right,
But obviously, we all have to learn a new trick.
right,
That's just the way it is. But like I said, in conversation, it sounds like in Hopedale, after like the first month, everything just evened out and everybody got on the same page. And I know driving through Hopedale on a trash day, everything's nice and neat when you drive down the street. You can definitely tell, everybody's participating in the program. I don't see, on windy days, I don't see trash blowing around
right,
because everybody's using the same containers.
Right.
So, like I said, it's gonna be a little bit of a change. But I think in the end, after a few weeks, everybody will get in the program.
right. And Mike was very understanding when I told him, about it. He was very, he gets it,
Mhm.
so to speak.
we know out of curiosity in comparison between the two communities, Oakdale and Middle, the only size of the Oakdale's senior population versus Minot.
that even?
Because Minot has a very sizable senior population based on we do for the senior discount program. I just didn't know apartment, but more need for some point accommodations.
Yeah, I think the difference from Maine and Hopedale is, I don't think our seniors are more in private residences. Where their seniors, they have more senior housing. So even if the numbers were close,
Yep.
the housing situation's different.
Yeah.
So, similar.
Yeah.
But definitely different. I mean, I think we're a lot more rural. Versus the organized neighborhood structure.
Right,
We
yeah.
have a few of those, but.
Yeah.
We're still definitely,
We're a rural community, absolutely, which I love that.
Well, it's good to know, Mike is, Harvey's over the
Right, adjust,
situation
yeah,
come up.
talk about it,
So,
Yeah.
come-
yep, yeah.
Bottom line is what. Leave it open.
yeah, I mean, everybody's gonna have to have a little bit of patience and,
Adapt, it's all about adapting and, trying to figure out how to adapt to that. As you said, the Boy Scouts and Mark said that, they could think about making some kind of a little cubby off the road. So,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was necessary.
Jason also mentioned, National Honor Society, students have to do some community
Yeah,
service. So,
right, that's a good idea too.
I'm pretty confident that we should be able to find somebody in
Right.
someone's neighborhood that could pitch in.
Right.
Probably the problem or the hardest part of that is finding someone to be the coordinator of that whole thing.
All right,
Someone who's very organized.
Well, how do they keep track of their community service hours?
I don't know.
Who do they hand it into? Type
Yeah.
of thing.
right,
Well, I'm assuming that in Boy Scouts, there's a pecking order of, there's a hierarchy of how things go, so depending upon where you are, you report it to the next man or woman up in National Honor Society, maybe whoever the teacher is.
yeah,
It is
there's
the-
always someone that's the coordinator of that, they're like an adjunct person, sort of thing.
So they would,
And they're very active, that person is very active with the kids.
All right.
Yeah,
so as it comes, we'll figure it out.
Right.
And I mean, I assured the woman from Washington Street that everything would be all right.
Right.
We figure it out over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. well, I
Um,
had one on Fair Road, two on Uxbridge Road.
Right, we could find a senior citizen that becomes temporarily
Sure that.
due to an injury.
Oh, and having a knee replacement.
Right, it might need coverage for a month
Yeah.
or 2
Yeah.
months
Yeah.
until they, until they get back on their feet, so to speak.
Right,
And you would hope,
that would be a really good program for the scouts to do. Go and on every Thursday or Wednesday when their trash thing is for that person. Yeah, I'll talk to Eddie Shea again. too.
yeah, and I mean, we could reach out to Amy,
Yeah,
down at the senior center.
Yeah.
She runs that place. She would, probably have, maybe already, as long as she has some names to draw on, she would already be in a position
Mhm.
to maybe reach out and say, hey, can you help this one out?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, good team effort.
And actually, I wouldn't want to assume actually that all the difficulties necessarily be amongst the senior population. There might be residents out there who aren't necessarily seniors, and they have
That's
a need
okay, handicap,
for some accommodations.
right.
Good point.
So, same old story, one day at a time.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
And I mean, we're,
We start singing it.
Yeah.
it's gonna be July 10th when that program
Real starts.
So, we'll get through the summer. The nice thing about the summertime is maybe there'll be.
It's gonna be, yes, it's a
little
learning
more
curve there.
availability.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
better weather,
yeah.
so that maybe we could work some of those kinks out before we
Figure
get
it out
into
before we
winter.
get to-
Mhm.
And during the winter may present a different set of issues that will go away in the spring.
Right,
Um,
one hopes.
Yeah, well, um, I think we got a pretty good level of volunteerism, and so provided we have the right people coordinating it, we should be able to accommodate people and, as long as they have patience and are willing to meet us in the middle, we should be fine. Like I said, I'm gonna follow up my conversation with Jason over the weekend, hopefully.
Do we have a select board person who's willing to put up with us at our meetings?
I don't know if anybody has officially been appointed. Jason did say that he was going to try to take our next meeting. So I don't know if he's raised his hand.
I like to keep the concept going.
Right,
It was really
well,
great.
that coordination thing is so important.
It was very, we had been very fortunate. We had Monty involved.
Yeah.
There were times in the discussion, his input helped the discussion you were having.
Correct.
Oh, absolutely, especially his ability to pull up a Google map.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And say, oh, this is really what we're talking about. This is the layout, this is downhill.
Right.
His technical ability along with his knowledge of what's been
Right.
going on in town
Yeah,
the last decade plus was really beneficial.
You just have somebody from the select board level involved. because
right,
They get involved in things that we don't necessarily, so they might pick up on things that might end up
correct.
being brought up in
Yeah.
our discussions so that we can add to that. So, I hope we'll get back on the seat.
Right,
So, I guess we could say one day at a time for that item.
All right, anybody online viewing us, listening in? Anybody have any comments or questions about the new Mendon trash program at all? Going once, going twice. No comment.
I would ask, why is the bill so high?
well, I've had people asking me that too, but one guy
Yeah.
called me, the other day. It's like, blah, 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 what is this? I said, well, things have changed dramatically because of the recycling. Mostly the recycling has made, before recycling was free.
Yeah, well, it wasn't
Well,
that it was
mostly.
free, but we had a flat rate. It was flat throughout that
Right.
last contract.
Right.
So we didn't have to worry about, the Sunday fee element.
Yeah, you can throw out as much as you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
But the industry, the other side of the
Has
industry. has
changed.
changed.
That's right.
So that's another
Right.
thing.
So, I mean, people would call me because they call and I say, yeah, I understand, I'm a payer too. And, but this is why. And I said, oh, I never really thought about that. So thank you, blah, blah, blah.
I think we did a good thing by getting
Yeah.
out that fire.
Right,
There
Yeah.
could be some,
Yeah.
a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Please see all of them. Everyone see possible. Understandable as to why.
I mean, things change.
Yeah, and when you're starting that 3 to 5 year cycle over again, that there's always that jump. I think
Yeah.
if we manage to, if we manage to develop those revolving accounts further, which is a whole nother discussion, and we manage, we can hopefully control the price a little better. Right now, the way that those funds are being funneled through the Board of Health and out, we're not able to recapture those. So that's something we need to discuss with the Finance Committee and then with the select people. Because we have that one account that we don't even know, we have the account, but there's no money in it.
No, there is. Jack,
Oh, okay.
Oh, the Title V account.
yeah.
Or is that an engineering?
No, it actually says Title V, septic account,
Title, it's Title V.
Yeah. related expenses.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would cover the engineering for.
Yes.
Okay, and there is funds.
There is funds in there, yes.
That was a maximum of 25,000.
Correct.
Part of what we were gonna do, for those on the call as well. We had, when we presented our budget to FinCom and the Select Board a couple months back. At that time, we had not included the element for a health agent. But what we were able to do was present to them the way that we could still accommodate hiring a health agent, but there's only a part-time position, say 15 hours for what I need to do. We had the money in our budget already. And we basically were looking to, because we have the Title V account, we really no longer had to have the engineering element of the budget. Because really those monies are Title V related. So we were able to take that budget item along with
Contracted services.
contracted services, combine it. And that gave us the 30,000 combined that we would need to support what this health agent paid. Actually, it was still up a couple grand, right? So there was no increase to the Board of Health budget
Right.
allowance, which is a good thing.
Yeah, what we want to be as self-sufficient as we possibly can. And, you know, we've always been conscious of, you know, what the fees are and what the fees are covering the expenses. So, again, that's a discussion to have further with, you know, we'll have to put something together and get on the agenda. Finance committee and get their input and then go before the selectmen so that we get the appropriate revolving account established so that we can further that and try to balance things out, just like the Parks Department.
Right.
You know, they're trying to be as standalone, you know, on their own as they can by bringing in money to provide funding versus having to keep going back to the taxpayers.
And it'd be great to actually take the whole trash account, make it revolving account. All the money that we take in for the program,
Yeah.
Right.
make that revolving account.
Well, I mean, it would certainly show us from a bookkeeping standpoint if we're hitting that target.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it definitely promotes accountability because you can only spend what comes in.
You've been tracking that really well this past year.
Mhm.
You've been on board, and you know, our plan, what roughly we're at.
I think I have maybe,
Dollars to the budget.
I think I have another 47 grand left, so I gotta see what June's, but that's including wind waste and EL Harvey.
Right.
So I know I'm gonna be under what was budgeted, maybe by a couple of grand.
Which is great.
Yeah, that shows that, you know, we hit our target.
Yeah.
We like that, yeah,
Well, especially on that, that's subscriber money,
right,
that's not taxpayer money.
And the Board of Health, and historically, at least in my time on the board, always done pretty well, budget wise. We always seem to have monies that, you know, we can return back to the town, which is good.
All right, anything else on that topic?
Nope.
All right, let's move on to the town hall rate testing results.
All right, so on May 19th through May 22nd, the Lower Town Hall was tested for radon. 3 samples were taken and sent to the Massachusetts Licensed Lab and analyzed. The return results showed that all 3 samples were all below the US EPA action level, but it is recommended to retest the site every 5 years. So the radon tests we had were below state levels.
When I read that report, they also didn't not suggest, I'm saying this correctly, fact that that was only a snapshot in time
Mhm.
and that the levels could fluctuate. It almost looked as though a ventilation type program wouldn't be ruled out. Did I read that correctly?
where it says no level of radon exposure is considered to be safe.
Okay. It was almost like they were, even though the levels came back well within,
Right,
they were kind of on the fence, they weren't taking one side one way or the other.
Mhm.
Well, they do kind of just kind of point to the fact that any potential additions, renovations, or significant changes to the HVAC could potentially create the need to potentially retest, or could alter results. Right? Now, I think one of the elements in the town hall that they found in the process was that there an exchange or something that they found that actually had been active and they were going to engage it.
Yeah, I think that was in the boiler room.
Yeah, that was, yeah, that was,
Has that been
yeah,
activated?
they did do that. They did supposedly do that. They had somebody come in, because that was one of the things that Mike Feeney was like over the top with, how it was being, they didn't do this. Should have done that. blah, blah, blah.
Am I using the right term? Has
Yeah,
been
it was,
exchanged?
yeah, it was an air exchanger of some sort. And then he also, there was a drain there. It was open. He wanted that closed because he said that was really. So they did that right away too, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, That
Having
became,
those- having
that
those-
became a select board issue
Right.
of having that done.
Yeah.
Having things done, so I didn't follow up on it because I knew that there were other people who were doing.
They just having that air exchanger back in action and active that alone. Well,
Right.
the airflow recall. Or we could do a conservation actually. Dan, did Dan get involved? Someone?
Yeah, Dan was involved. He was there. One of the places with it. Dan was his little room there. Parks room. So yeah, he was there someday talking to me.
Maybe just for our own edification. Circle back, get confirmation on those two items.
Right.
What was the second item?
Or,
Yeah,
Joyce mentioned the drain.
I know that was Phil.
that was.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Mike Morale did mention that. That was.
Yeah, because he told me that it was.
Okay, so the recommend, just follow the recommendation of retesting every 5 years at this point, unless there's any major changes to the structure.
Yeah, I think that's. That would be just.
I mean, I'm glad that the testing came back well within the limits. I hope people will feel more comfortable with that.
Right.
I take it on the AccuStar sheet there, that just talked about, and listed 3 device numbers and talked about the start time and stop time. I'm assuming that was starting,
Where are you?
well, it's, almost looks like a time sheet on time sheet.
On the very back page.
That's date sheet.
Oh, okay, sorry. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's,
Yeah, that was the time that he put the things in the offices, 'cause I was here watching him do it. So he did drop them in the office at 6:58 that Friday, which I believe was the 19th.
right,
And he came in on the 22nd and picked them up back at 6:34, 6:33, 6:32.
okay. Well, when I first looked at that, because I actually I just happened to scan that sheet and I'm like, it's 58 AM, 6:54. But there were 3 days in between.
Correct.
Right.
And it go tested well.
Me too.
Yeah.
So everybody that works in the town hall, you know, we have the results.
Yes, I gave a copy when we got it. I emailed it to the select board and everybody that works at the town.
So everybody should feel comfortable.
Yes.
Right.
Gene was happy, Ella was happy, Dan was happy. Everybody was happy.
You can't.
Well, you want
Right,
the
yeah.
environment where it is.
Oh,
Healthy.
that's right. I mean, it's scary. When it can be. And this whole area is ripe with radon. I mean, not in Massachusetts. You know, Central Mass has a
Oh,
lot,
really?
you know, yeah.
Next item, unless anybody in the audience has any questions about the radon testing at the town hall campus?
Looks like you're good to go.
Mendon landfill update discussion.
All right, so on May 25th, I emailed the town council the contract agreement sent from Atlas for her review and comments. She did respond with an email. I gave the board that copy of the email, some of her recommendations. One, the contract should be with the town of Mendon by and through the Board of Health. No finance charges for towns as we do not pay interests. Atlas needs to provide the certificates of insurance if necessary, naming the town of Mendon as additional insured. She did mention regarding the deed restriction, you cannot record a deed restriction on private property, and that's likely too heavy-handed. The town should seek access, or based on the letter, it seems like Atlas may be doing so on behalf of the town. That should be clarified.
All right, so do we need to forward that information on that so that we can change?
Yep, sure, and to Jennifer. She was the contact that we obviously for the agreement options to us.
Jennifer Snee.
Jennifer stayed there.
And they change everything. Agreement to change everything according to what town council has suggested, then we can move forward. But we have to, town council just put their eyes on the finished product. Get going on that.
Yeah, I mean, what's your thought on the, on item 3, would be an agreement that we forward on that access option? It was an optional item that she could write, as opposed to a need of no formal access agreement. I think it makes sense myself.
Well, once you have an agreement in writing, it's about as concrete as you're gonna get it. Because we don't know what's gonna happen to that property. So that agreement, I'm gonna assume, shroud the future owners, if something were to transpire down there.
Well, that's a good question, because Karis does mention with regard to regarding task number 3, she does point out you cannot just record a deed restriction on private property. Right? So how does that thought apply to having this
Transfer property.
access agreement transferred or automatically transferred if ownership were to change?
No,
So to what Alan's saying is that if we did this access agreement, formal.
oh, yes,
access
okay,
agreement,
yeah, right.
And the current owner signed it. Well, say the owner sells the property, the new owner.
Yeah, we have to make sure that that's a part of their deed arrangement.
Well,
It
so,
goes with the deed.
well, could we, well, I guess Leon has the question, because Karis is saying that you just cannot record a deed restriction in private property.
But on an engineering issue, we've had Tom Ryder advise us to put a deed restriction on private property, number of bedrooms.
Yep,
We've done that before.
yep,
Trying to remember what else. But there's been situations where we've been advised by the town engineer there has to be a deed restriction. That's private property.
Well, that's coming from an engineer, this is coming from legal. So it kind of raises the question of what has been presented to us from that perspective, legal.
It's always been.
I don't know, I mean, I,
Right? I mean,
My-
we've had
my-
everybody
my-
come back and say, no, we're not doing it.
again,
Back in the day.
back in the day, that you would do that. You know, you would have deep restrictions, like on septic systems and stuff like that, that if they were, you know, because they didn't, they had to be a repair and didn't come under the thing, it had to be closer to the property line, that sort of thing. You know, different things like that. Put on this deed restrictions and stuff that they couldn't change, you know, do anything different.
Right, and I wouldn't think that an access agreement is any different than an easement.
So I think we
There are
have,
deeds that, of people that have private property that have an easement for the gas line, sewer easement. or
Right,
They have a guide wire for a telephone pole, that is written, that guide wire is on their property, it's written into the deed.
so I think it may, her response then may warrant the discussion,
right.
because her
Where,
response.
where are you, am I seeing?
I mean, especially where it appears that even if we get reduced testing approval,
Right there. Oh,
I
okay.
thought
Oh,
we
yeah.
pretty much said that what happened to this landfill was hell.
Yes, there's always going to be some element of testing, just given the structure of the EPA these days and what has transpired over the years with regard to environmental monitoring.
So that access agreement needs to travel.
I would think it should.
In my
You did.
limited, you know,
Sure.
my limited knowledge, I would say that it needs to travel with the,
Right. And given this response compared to the examples you just raised, with what's been done before, there's a little difference of viewpoint.
well, and that's exactly what it could be, is one person's looking at it from a legal standpoint. And our engineer is looking at it from an engineering point of view.
But bottom line, we have to, legal is going to trump engineering. Because if something were to ever come up and somebody wanted to take legal action for a step that was taken, that's ultimately where we need to be in compliance with the legal aspect.
Well, you're right.
You know what I mean?
No, that's a good point. I mean, we could very well have someone who has a deed restriction for bedrooms.
Yeah.
Could transfer, us, owner could challenge it.
But how could the new owner challenge it? Because it's based on the engineering, the number of bedrooms of the septic system.
What I understood is the Title V aspect,
Right,
but when it comes to specifically being able to record a deed restriction on the property from that's where I'm kind of saying that Karis's response to this
yeah,
is differing than what has taken place in the
before,
past
right, yeah,
with regard to applying deed restrictions because of what's happened engineering wise.
right,
Title V.
right.
So it now makes me wonder. We need to resolve.
Have her, well, I think you need to have an up close and personal eye-to-eye talk with her.
Well, yeah, exactly. I can think of
One-on-one.
I can think of situations where the AT&T fiber optic line.
Yeah.
Crosses through a large number of residential properties in Guilford. They don't have to access that often. But there were times during the eighties where, I mean, it was like a train going through. Where they replaced them and everybody had to, you know, kind of bear with it during the construction. And it's an easement on those deeds. So I would think that an access agreement be no different.
I would think so. So,
But there must be a reason. We have to find out what the reason is that she has that viewpoint.
so we should make a note. We need to do a follow-up with Karis.
And we, when we say we mean you.
Yes, and I'd be happy I'd be happy to spearhead the conversation.
Just saying.
Yeah. Well, say, hey, what's up?
Well, again, a point of view, you know,
Right.
which way you look at it
Exactly.
could have an effect on the opinion.
Yeah, and, you know, again, ultimately, I think we just need to make sure that in the board,
Oh, look at that, there you go.
that we're acting in compliance legally.
Yeah.
I hate to think we've been doing something that
Everybody
that
does.
is stepped outside of that bound.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's still signature.
I'll take that as an action.
All right. So anything else on landfill?
Not that I have.
Questions from the audience on our landfill discussion? Is that Teams? Is that a message from Teams on board? No longer, yes.
This will let us know that we're on it.
Because Lonnie was interested in that whole situation too.
Yes,
So Stampede would be fine.
correct.
Okay. Next item is to discuss the part-time health agent vacancy.
All right, so I emailed Kim this morning for an update, and she responded that the background checks are ongoing. If everything is good to go, then the BOH may be able to move forward at the next scheduled BOH meeting.
So I guess the discussion is, do we want to move forward now? Or do we want to wait for that information to be? I mean, the vacancy has existed for a long time. We know it's not a good thing. However, we've kind of been at this point before. Do we move forward? Not having 100% the information that is necessary? Or do we keep delaying? I mean, unfortunately, we have a new person in HR, so HR is empty right now. Person is starting, I believe,
July.
okay? So that's a bit of a handicap because that person is really who's going to orchestrate all the administrative things involved with taking on a new employee. On the other hand, we've had situations where we're very handicapped because we don't have a full-time health agent.
Right,
We're
well,
relying on-
that our situation existing is, would have been, is a good example, you know, that would, she's would be very adept at
Right.
that.
So,
You just raised an interesting element that I hadn't thought of with regard to actually the individuals that would ultimately pull the trigger to make this position go. But they're not here. And they're not in play, right? So even if we were to conditionally appoint this evening, it still can't happen for quite a while. Right? So,
well, we're talking a period of 2 weeks,
right,
Until the next Board of Health meeting,
well, until this HR person is on. board.
or at least 2 weeks, yes.
right, so
At least 2 weeks, okay. That's the reason I thought it was July.
No, 2 weeks, we're in July, June 28th, for 2 weeks for our next meeting. So a few more days would be July.
Okay.
the point being, the element that we were waiting on based on the communication we received is currently in process. And it seems like it will be for the final result will be forthcoming very quickly. And it sounds like chances are prior to a new HR person starting. which would still give opportunity for us at our next meeting between now and then to get the blessing of those results, and then be able to confirm the appointee, and then say, okay, now let's work with HR to get the whole start up. You know what I mean? Because even if we appoint now,
Yeah,
condition,
I get it.
conditionally
You
appoint,
know,
it can't happen.
I understand, I really do hear what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just like, because, but you have to recognize, I'm still back in the day. You know, when we did it, that was it, done. You know,
Right,
we didn't have HR, we didn't have,
no, correct.
and
Right, but-
that's,
so we
that's what I'm
have to,
saying,
so we have to understand there
Yeah.
are other pieces here.
right?
That was a good point. That need to be filled for this position to ultimately take off anyway.
Well, even if we didn't have an HR person, I don't even know if we have the backup for the HR person right now.
We do have backup as HR. I believe Terry Russell's handling the payroll aspects. And I believe Patty Gauthier, who's downstairs in the treasurer's office, is handling the benefits aspect.
So are we saying that,
I don't know what Terry Russell is capable of doing with onboarding type of thing. She may be only in charge of payroll and that's it.
And our town administrator is in transition. Bad timing.
yeah, it just seems like we have a window here where even if we could make a conditional this evening, doesn't sound like it's gonna happen in the next couple of weeks anyway.
Because of the background things that
Because-
can take place.
No, because of other people that aren't here
Right,
that might have to make this all come to fruition. Unless you're telling me that the people that are part of this administration now that are active here have the ability to make this happen.
That I do not know. I just know that Terry's in charge of payroll. I don't know
Right.
who's in charge of onboarding. That could be Kim in charge of onboarding. I do not know.
I'm gonna kind of guess here, that if we were to do something tonight, and the board, the select board were to do their portion next week, we're gonna be at that July 1st or a little bit beyond date anyway.
Yep.
So if we wait, I think that would only prolong it a little more. But those people would be, HR would be on board. So I don't really think whether we do it, make a decision now or make a decision later is gonna affect the timing a whole lot.
That's my point.
Yeah, because I mean, it's tough in either direction. We don't have all the pieces that we need to complete the puzzle.
Yep.
On the other hand, a lot more exposed without a full-time health, part-time health agent than I'm comfortable.
Oh, understood, but we're not gonna, that's not gonna get filled and resolved in the next couple of weeks anyway. We're still gonna have to deal with potential issues that come up
Right.
with either a temporary person and or one of us stepping in to help. Right?
So if we put this off, let's say till our next meeting,
Which is June 28th.
June 28th.
right, so that gives a few of the pieces of the puzzle, hopefully will happen.
Yeah, well, the results will be.
Things in the background.
Yes.
Right. That means we're not gonna get on the select board's meeting until,
Well, theirs, I believe, is next week.
we're gonna miss that if we don't act. If we act on the 28th, it's gonna be the following meeting when the select board is able to do their portion.
Well, technically, they could do their piece next meeting.
Meeting, right?
Just so
Yeah.
folks who are listening understand,
Right,
what we're talking
The
about is an
conditions.
individual coming forward to fill the role of health agent predominantly, with a 15-hour per week role. And it had been presented that, in addition, there's a need for some administrative support for the Conservation Committee. So the plan that we're currently working under is that this individual would be our health agent for 15 hours, but in addition, will also serve an administrative role for an additional 3 hours per week. And because we're talking about two different functions here, same individual, we hear at the Board of Health the belief that the appointment aspect for the health agent role should come from the Board of Health. But we also understand, because they're going to combine the position, that other piece needs to be, that appointment needs to be approved by the select board, because that is their domain over other
Right.
pieces.
So
That's what-
that they
that's
could
why
do
we're
that.
talking.
I would say they could do that at their meeting next week. Get that put away with the contingency, of course, that everything's gonna work.
Yeah, I guess that they'd have to do a similar thing that we're talking about tonight. Unless between now and then, that information is,
Hopefully that's gonna happen.
right, it seems like it's been out there for quite a while. I'm very surprised that it's taking this long.
So we would just kind of be reversing the order.
Basically reversing
The
it.
selectmen would do their portion first, we do our portion second.
If there was someone,
You're still not gonna get this person on board to sometime
in July,
beginning July,
mid-July.
which isn't great. But I guess that we gotta get to the goal.
So there's just processes involved now that didn't exist back in the day. Right, Trace?
Right.
Well, unfortunately,
Much the chagrin.
Right.
yeah,
I know.
we have some transition taking place within the
Yes.
administration
And that's another,
that is not timely for us.
the timing is just,
You know, it was never a convenient time.
that just kind of gets, but we'll get through.
It's been close. There's been a few, things that have come up that it's getting pretty hairy. So, definitely need to get this done, but we need to get it done, right?
Right. We need to have it, all tied up in our board.
Okay, so do we want to encourage the select board this on their agenda for their next meeting? Their portion of this,
I would say, let's do that.
if they will.
See how that
if they're
works.
willing to do
Then.
that.
But, and if they say, oh, well, we can't do it because of blah, blah, blah. But I would say, yeah, let's get that.
Because, I mean, at this point, conversations, we're on the same page to get this, taken care of. We're just trying to do it the right way.
Candidate's perspective, and for those that are listening, I think the board is in agreement unanimously that the candidate brings qualifications to the board. So from a qualification perspective,
Yeah,
don't think anyone has any issue at all.
Right.
Just all these other elements that go into the hiring process when individuals looking at the role, they'll have to be looked at, so forth. Got to dot the i's, cross the t's, but qualification, from pure qualification standpoint, I think it's a candidate that would,
Hit the ground running.
and I think we would encourage them to do that too.
Well, yeah.
Get ahead of us,
It-
be ahead of us.
It appears that the select board is encouraged that this person is willing to take on other tasks
Right,
that are open,
Right.
roles that we need to fill. So it's kind of rare that you find a candidate that is willing to do that.
right.
And has the qualifications to do that, so. Unfortunately, again, the timing and pieces that are moving in and out of administration at this time it hasn't made it very easy to get things out.
Changing the guard.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's where we are, right in the, with several guards being changed,
Well, that is.
All at one time.
we're entering a new year,
Fiscal year.
right?
all at the same time. So it's just a
Right.
lot going on, and we're fortunate
Right.
that, you know, we've all managed to have patience and see this through. All right, so we'll take no action at this time as the Board of Health. And we will reach out to the select board, see if they want to do, encourage them to do their portion at their next meeting, so that on the 28th, we can do our portion.
Right.
And hope that all the pieces that are missing right now fall into play.
You could, and I'll give your thoughts on this as part of my communication. Would they like representation at their select board meeting?
Well, I was thinking that too myself,
Their
of
discussion.
having the 3 members of the Board of Health on that night.
Well, what if what if some of the pieces that are missing came in meantime? And the Board of Health and the Select Board were in
Right, the same
a position to do what they each need to do at the next Select Board.
So there you go.
You know, I mean, maybe we'll get a little bit of luck, and
Yeah,
some of that missing information will come into play.
Does that then mean that we would only have to post?
We would post yes. But it'd only be for that one topic. And it'd be 15 minutes. Well, you go.
and could we do it virtually or,
As long as you're on video, yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
Well,
we
if
could
you
do
want
it
to.
here, I mean, kind of,
yeah, but there'll be in person.
Yeah, we just being honest.
yeah,
All 3 people would walk up, right? So they
And just, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that was sort of what was proposed that we were trying to put into play at the last selectmen's meeting, when their agenda was jam-packed,
Right.
was to try to get both boards together and get that done at that meeting, but there was still a lot of missing pieces and missing personnel that need to do things in the background to get this person completely on board.
right,
So,
that would be great, I think that would be.
I mean, if they were in agreement to do it at their last meeting, I don't see why they wouldn't be in agreement to do
Right,
it at this meeting. It's just that, unfortunately, it seems as though
I know,
time is moving on. And, but I don't see why I don't see why they have a problem with that. We just need to get it on their agenda for that right away before they get over full again.
right, exactly.
I can talk to Laura tomorrow.
Do
If the
you,
board's in agreement to be at the next meeting, next Wednesday night.
given that there was kind of a one-on-one
As
there
long as it's
with the discussion,
behind,
you want to first touch bases, want
see.
to reach once?
Well, we can
And then-
next night with people.
Okay?
I'm just, I mean, I don't know, I'm just, given how it,
Yeah, no, I can do that.
you know what I'm saying?
I can check. And make
Because
sure.
it's kind of been a one-on-one in the back, you know, kind of working this out. Would that be something that? And then,
Jack can act on it.
right,
All right, so have the 2 chairs speak first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just to make sure that
Yeah.
we're still all on the same page, and I don't see any reason.
Okay.
Right,
thanks.
We're all trying to achieve the same goal,
hopefully,
and we're all feeling the pressure to get it done,
right,
but we all have the desire to do it right.
Hey, I work best under pressure.
oh, good,
Yeah, a cup of coffee.
I work best in that. So, that's how we're gonna move forward.
okay,
I'll make sure
I
that
like that,
the select chair.
and if
is still
you,
on the
if
same
you could,
page.
just because that's my golfing day. Right,
Oh,
if you could put us on the end of the agenda,
okay.
see if we could get in the end. Do you
Well, they
want-
usually meet, what, at 6:30?
6:30.
6,
I think they start.
6:30.
So else we'd like to be on their agenda for around the 7:30 hour if possible,
Well,
Yeah,
you know?
but
You can do it
let
from
me,
home.
let me.
Worst case,
What?
you can do it from home.
worst case if
Yeah.
that gets in the way of the joint element. Not a big deal.
And I'll look at my time.
Right. And I mean, at least the first part would be done, and then at our next meeting.
Nothing against Joyce, but say she even wasn't able to make it, you two could make the votes.
Technically,
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
true, two of us, we still need to post it as a meeting,
Correct.
right.
but
You
technically.
just don't make it or able to log in and you troubles.
Well, the reception at that course is pretty good.
I don't, it isn't. I'd have to be out of the deck.
And I know
Being convinced.
you could hit the ball into the woods. Just get the last a little few minutes.
Yeah.
Get on the call.
Okay,
Yeah, they give up the ball.
yep,
Well, are you okay with that choice?
yeah, I'm fine with that, yeah. I mean, we know that, you know that I agree.
Yes.
And so it's not like, you know, you're sneaking up.
Oh, no, but I
No,
mean.
absolutely, yeah. But I will, I will know, I have, the schedule is already out. This time I was, go out until 4:45. So, but I'll see, I'd probably be there earlier. So that would get, I'll get 6.
So long in advance.
Yeah, probably the last agenda.
I'll look as soon as I go home.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. So that's how we'll proceed. I'll make sure that they're on board for that, and then
Okay.
Jack can do the formal
Great.
request. And then, I mean, that, again,
That makes all kinds of sense.
that's sort of what we were trying to
Right.
put together for the
Right,
last meeting. That we, again, was over packed for the board of selectmen, so.
right.
We'll try to make that same arrangement. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work.
Right,
All right.
great. Good job. Anybody online, have a comment?
Any comments or suggestions so far? Anybody online? Going once, twice. All set.
All right, next item, Board of Health Marketing. Annual review.
So now the Board of Health Office has its own kiosk for Sharps disposal. It has been delivered.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I designed a brochure to get everybody's review before I start making it publicly known. I'm gonna do an email blast to all Mendon users to let it be known. Put it on the Board of Health webpage. Review.
This is this will be in the form of a pamphlet.
Yep.
Like this.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh, the actual product.
Yeah. That's
Jack,
great.
if you should.
It took me like 5 minutes.
So much.
This is what I used to do at my other job.
Yeah, no, very impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very.
very clever, Mickey.
Let's not saying that. I would feel some other thing.
Back
It's
in the
it's
day.
efficient use of time, not extra time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly. I can multitask.
I wish I could. It's cool. Yeah, no. Okay, so they come by and they first they pick up these smaller containers.
They have to buy their own.
They have to buy them.
Yeah, so they buy it at Amazon, Walmart, whoever. Obviously, we're still gonna have the ones by Yellow Harvey that provides, but those are shipped back automatically.
Right, those don't go with that.
Those don't go with it.
And there's a limit of how many of those.
We only get 12.
So those go quick.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to suggest that maybe we include somewhere where these people can get those shops containers.
On how to dispose of Sharps, there is a
Look
line.
at this, there's a great thing with, you can just use one of your, like, if you have a bleach bottle.
Yep.
See it on the corner up in the top?
Oh, very good. See it?
Yeah, yeah,
Jack, you're too good.
yeah.
Yeah.
But underneath, the disposal shops, it tells you right there, supply companies, healthcare providers, and online such as Walmart, Walgreens, and Amazon.
Perfect.
But I do have a web page designed where if you click on the link from the website, it'll bring you directly to the 1 ounce containers.
Very nice.
Yeah, no,
See, screws.
now you print these up. Oh, yeah.
I will have it printed, it's only to new fiscal year, since our new budget incorporates the cost.
Yeah, I assume the ink cartridges.
Oh, I hope you don't know.
A lot more than having it professionally,
Yeah, exactly.
but no, very, very nice.
So, with this then, how will that then affect what had been provided by E.L. Harvey with web?
EL Harvey only gives us 12 containers of the sharp containers, 1.5 quarts.
Yeah.
And they're mail back sharp containers. They don't make it as a shipping label, so they take a box with them, fill it up, put a label that's already addressed in the box, and they ship it out at the post office.
So would that be a component that we would still want E.L. Harvey to incorporate because we have this new code?
Well, I was thinking like maybe trying and talk to them into like buying just regular 1 quarts without the mail back program. It's even probably a double the order or triple the quantity type of thing.
Right, right. So still utilize E.L. Harvey, but in a slightly different manner.
Yeah.
Why not?
If they're, I mean, if they're meant.
It's working, yeah.
Because I mean, there is an expense to those. mail
Oh, yeah, they're like $35, $40 a piece.
Right, it wouldn't be in just providing us with containers that go in kiosks.
Mm.
Now, we pay for help in the kiosks. What was the projection for the cost?
It's like $1,300 to have the kiosk and probably about $75 a month to have it empty. But with the EL Harvey contract, we are allowed $4,500 part of hazardous waste, and I consider that hazardous waste disposal.
Okay. Now, the 1,300 for the kiosk is that like an annual?
Nope, that's one-time cost.
Also one-
It's ours.
It's ours, we own.
We own it.
And it's really, it's a nice looking.
Yeah,
piece of equipment.
yeah, very safe. Once they're in there, it's not like anybody's accidentally gonna,
I'm into the Board of
Get in
Health
trouble.
office and do it,
it's just they only have access to that during,
The business hours of Board of Health.
which that's a good idea. That's great because otherwise we've got. all
Yeah,
this-
you could
You
have
know,
issues.
there's so many people that are not on top.
Yeah, the other collective towns either have it in the Board of Health office or have one at the Board of Health in their senior center.
And they could, they put it outside of that.
Yeah,
This nice big red
yeah,
box that I want to do something to.
right,
Right?
yeah.
If E.L. Harvey wants to keep the sheriff's program that they help us with
Mhm.
as it is,
Mhm.
that would be the worst case scenario. Because for those people who might not want to try to hit the box
Correct.
when it's available, I would reserve those mail-out containers for those people.
Mhm.
You may find someone who, these hours might not be good for them for some reason, work schedule, or they have to
Sure.
depend on someone else
Yeah.
to get them here.
I agree.
So either way, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah.
But yeah, that very impressive. Nice job.
Okay.
Mhm.
Business cards, Board of Health members, and also ID badges for you and approval.
Yeah. As I expressed, I thought everything was great except you're an important member of our team, so you need to be included.
Well, as long as I get the design concept approved by the board, I can put any names on here.
It's good,
Yeah, no, I like it.
good for me.
And then we'll all, make a visit to the police station and get our little photo taken.
Yeah, would we need to?
Well, you could probably provide a photo if you had one.
As I said, we probably take one to Board of Health. We have the
Yeah.
background. We can take it on.
Yeah,
my
I might even have a passport picture. I might have a spare.
We can take your photo right off of newspaper. AJ.
Exactly, it's only a year old.
Well, they always do that.
Pretty common. Was in the heavy at kind of race from last year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But we were at the last meeting.
No, I would.
So the said we put out a challenge to the departments within the town of Mendon, as well as community groups, to a cardboard boat race this coming July. And we actually have two that I know of who have accepted the challenge, the highway department and the parks department.
Uh-huh.
And maybe a couple of those that'll be coming. And then they put the picture in the paper with the article. It's the picture that was taken last year. I just happened to be part of it.
I didn't realize there was a additional photos.
Well, so, and that, what we should, not to get off topic here, meeting, but what we should have done was we should have reached out to Andrew first when we came up with the concept, say, hey, Andrew, this is what we're proposing. Because it's really through the library, they run.
Right.
Oh.
I'm actually gonna stop up there tomorrow. Hey, Andrew, maybe you're ready,
Yes, I do. Yeah.
you know.
Did you read much? You may have read this.
No.
All right, very good. Okay, so we're all amazed by your brochure. So that's the
Yeah,
goal.
All
totally.
right.
All in agreement with the proposed design for the updated business cards and ID badges,
All right.
right?
Yep.
So we'll move forward with those.
Have we located beautiful Cobalt?
Well, they didn't have she got her blue shirt. She's getting her blue, pink. Didn't have the purple. So you get the green.
Oh, yeah.
The green one,
Now, yeah, it was getting the black,
Oh, the black. That's right.
black, green.
Blue. Yeah.
And Jack.
I want to see how it looks first.
Kind of say, if you would have a Cobalt,
Yeah, hey,
that would have been
Me
like.
too.
That would have been like a bright shining beacon amongst two cloud
Clouds.
circuits.
Yeah. Well, you gotta know, you gotta, hey, you gotta use all the things you can get,
Yeah, there you go.
you know,
exploit your advantages, right?
right, exactly.
We stand up. All right, so moving right along again. Topics not anticipated.
I do want to bring up the Zooks. Did you were able to pass that again and
Yep,
want to give the board an update?
yep. There's no trailer there. Trailer is gone.
That's it, sorry.
The trailer, Zooks.
Oh, is it?
It's gone.
It is gone.
Yeah, I saw that it had been.
Gone.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, because I, every time I go by there, which is surprisingly enough, not very often, because last time I go back that way. And so my husband was driving this time, and he said, oh my gosh, this looks, and he's like, wow,
and
yeah, so that's good,
perfect example of the wheels turning very slow.
yeah.
Mm.
But once they're turned, they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
We don't know where it went. Nobody told us where it went.
yeah, hey.
It's gone.
As long as it's not illegally hooked up, someone's not living in there without a permit,
We're good.
we're good. Hopefully, based on what we told the situation was there, hopefully everybody's okay.
So, to that topic of, we had a conversation with Jack about this. So from our perspective, what our piece would have been, had this all come to fruition, we would have simply had oversight to the actual hookup element of the trailer,
Septic and water, right?
Mhm.
right?
That would have been our wheelhouse.
And from that piece alone, would there have been any issue from the BOH perspective in doing them?
I would think that they could do it.
Well, based on what we got back from Danielle, the size of the septic system
It was 4 bedroom.
wouldn't allow for
So I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole here. You have a system, I'll say, designed for 3 or 4 bedroom, right? And then you have an individual comes along and that has a need for trail, to be utilized at their property for whatever particular reason. And I know there's an approval process that goes through that involves.
Or like if something happened, a fire comes on or something like that.
Yeah, some construction need, you're gonna be doing some renovation in the
Right.
home and you wanna have your trailer, you got a trailer that you wanna live in for a period of time. Right?
Right,
And so the elements involved here are Board of Health, Building Department, and if everything is fine within those two groups, ultimately the select board gives the stamp of approval for the permit to be issued. As I understand, it, right? So long as there's no issues with the Board of Health.
Well, you and I both read the, I'll call it the ruling on what determines and can request a permit for a temporary trailer. So there are stipulations within that paragraph that dictate who, being the owner of the property.
Are you referring to the zoning bylaw? Or are you
Uh,
referring to the application we created?
well, the select board had an approved temporary trailer permit. I thought it was a paragraph that you and I read. I don't remember if it was part of the bylaw or what actually on the application, but I believe it stated that it was the owner of the property that had to apply for the permit. And I believe there was wording that indicated
the reason,
the reason for the request.
correct.
Those would have been part of the application that I believe we originally created. And when we created that application, the zoning element didn't exist at the time. That came along after the fact. Because if you recall, we had to create it because we had a situation that came before us and we had no guidance. It didn't exist. So the BOH created it to accommodate the situation and to create a process, if you will, around this particular situation. Subsequently, it was then addressed in zoning. And then that chapter was created after we did what we did.
Right.
So really, it actually may mean that what we did may at some point have to be altered. Because now there's new definition around how the permit gets approved, because at the time we were approving it. Now it's a case where we don't approve the permit, the select board does. We're involved in the process to make sure our piece gets handled, it was okay.
Right.
Well, what I'm going to is the technical piece of, if somebody has a system designed for X number of bedrooms, and now all of a sudden you want to put a mobile home there to use, and let's assume it's for legitimate reasons, right? Approved reasons. Is that really going to impact the system? Do a hookup of a mobile home
Well, it
for
depends.
temporary purposes?
Is the house still fully? Okay, in that situation, the house was fully occupied. So you were adding, essentially, you were adding a bedroom, or more than one bedroom.
Right, right,
depending upon-
or 2 more people.
Right,
Yeah.
depending upon the structure of the trailer. The reason being behind temporary trailer permit, as you mentioned, is for someone who's doing a major renovation on their home. God forbid it has a fire and has to
Right.
temporarily move out of the home. So the home is unoccupied. So the only thing going into the septic system
It's
is
the
a
same
temporary
stuff.
house.
Right.
That's very different from adding another bedroom or two.
What if I'm in a home and I have a 3-bedroom home, the system's designed for 3 bedroom, And I have two family members that for whatever reason need to come and live with me for a period of time. I haven't expanded my bedrooms. I've accommodated these two individuals somehow, some way. But my home stays the same. I haven't built another bedroom in my home. Yet I've added a couple of people in my home to use the system. What's the difference?
The difference is that you're not putting a facility that's doing all different things, washing dishes, doing stuff. I mean, you're doing it in your own home. But I would say it's more of a sort of,
I mean, given the design elements behind these systems, there's always room. These systems are not built to the nth.
right,
There's always a buffer of room. So from a practice, trying to come at this from a practical perspective.
right.
Is it really gonna make a difference to the functionality of that system that they hooked up a mobile home for a period of time?
But they didn't come and get a permit. We didn't know what time it was going to be. So, I mean, in that case, they weren't doing it forthright in terms. So if they did it forthright, we could say, sure, if you need this, if something's happening, you have a health issue, the person in your family or whatever, we could say, okay, we'll let you do it.
We can only say, okay, it's a selectman issue the permit.
Correct.
We can go and we can inspect the water hookup. And we can inspect the sewage hookup and say whether it's done safely. or not.
Right.
But it's up to the board of selectmen to issue the permit.
That's correct. So
Well, they make that determination.
correct. We could still be like peace.
We
And we could say to the select board, as far as we're concerned, they're fine. The issuing of the permit is still on the select board. But I could say, you have our blessing.
Right.
Well-
For a certain time, I would say it would be timed. It was not a forever thing.
No, so there you get,
Correct.
and that's an
Right.
element of the application that we currently have in our possession. There was a time frame.
I think the only issue would be is that kind of goes beyond what a temporary trailer permit was designed for.
Well, point, I'm just wondering is from a practical, I'm looking at it from a practical perspective. So the element of whether or not really adding that trailer hookup is really in any way, shape or form going to negatively impact that system.
Might depend upon the age of the system.
Was that?
Might depend upon the age of the system. Is the system 5 years old or is the system 30 years old?
Well, the design is such that the design is valid. And
I think I would ask a septic install.
Almost like a Title V. If they're taking care of the septic system, I mean, we have our septic system pumped every 2 years. And make sure that everything is fine and blah, blah, blah. Then, but do you know if they had, if that person has?
well, if they had, they're going to know pretty quick that they have it.
Right.
They can pump it.
Right.
So it's only going to affect those that are using it. And they're going to probably resolve it pretty darn quickly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think based on the way a temporary trailer permit is set up between the select board issuing permit.
Yeah.
Zoning bylaw.
Right.
Building code and board of health code. We can only do our portion.
Well, I'm only coming at it from the practicality of, I wonder if our Board of health code piece is actually practical.
Well, the only thing that I'm saying is the reason that this is coming up is because they didn't get any permit. So if they had got a permit and we had, checked it.
Well, they did submit a letter asking for us asking for it to be reviewed.
After the fact.
After they did it.
Right.
And then they explained in that letter
Right.
why.
The property owner was giving permission.
To use
To
the
an
trailer.
employee.
Right.
The way the permit, I believe, reads is this is for the owner's use.
You're talking about the application.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they were never issued.
So, you know, and again, our piece, that we're concerned with is that both the sewer and the water hookup is
Done
unsafe.
appropriately.
Correct. So going to that one little piece, that practical piece of the hookup, regard to how it may or may not affect the actual system. From a reasonable perspective, a practical thinking perspective, is that hookup to that mobile home really gonna impact that septic?
Well, I would say it has to do with how old the septic system is and when it was put in and how it was designed and blah, 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 blah.
That's a question for
Yeah.
either Tom Ryder or someone who installs septic systems. Sorry. Anything else?
Alex, is all that old business you want to talk about?
I'd just be curious to know if, about the Lincoln Task Force. You know anything about?
I did see a sign, maybe on Taft Ave advertising a meeting for Tuesday night, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they're starting their regular rotation of Tuesday night meetings.
It's gonna be Tuesday.
It didn't have a date on it,
So,
so like, that's why I said, it kind of made me think that they were starting their regular rotation. Didn't they meet once a month on
Yeah.
Tuesday?
Looks so.
well, the association itself.
Right,
Yeah.
so you know, of course, everybody is welcome to attend.
Right.
But I think that's was the purpose of the sign that I saw on Taft Ave.
I was just curious how you could get Josie. You know, she's gonna be our representative
Right.
on that task force. That would be the only.
Yeah, I don't know if they selected the select board member to be, would that be,
Next Board of Health meeting?
June 28th, right?
June 28th.
30.
7:30.
I would suggest next time we have Tom Ryder on,
Yeah.
if it's not too overwhelming.
Do you understand where I'm coming from?
I do, but I also understand that the goal was to discourage temporary trails.
Well, the goal aside, yeah, I understand that because you generally, and I think I said this to you. I understand you wouldn't necessarily now want to be quote unquote opening the door to have a multitude of residents become individual trailer park, right? Of problems. Which is what, and I understand, I'm just talking about the legitimate practicality of someone in need, that's
Yeah,
the,
yeah, I think that's maybe an engineer could give us a different point of view on that.
Yeah.
For someone who does septic installations
Yeah.
on a regular basis. As to how much room
right.
there is.
Yeah. When you would step away, we were just looking at any other items to talk about. I just wanted to find out from your perspective, is there anything new regarding the Lakeland Task Force?
I haven't heard a thing.
Yeah.
Nobody's contacted me or anything. I was gonna ask Jack if we get many more responses.
I think I got two.
So then, probably what I'd like to do is see exactly where they are and then, then I think we're gonna have to do the knocking on the door. As a task force.
Alan mentioned he had seen a sign about the meetings, the Tuesday night meetings.
Yeah, on Taft Ave, I saw a sign. They must be starting a cycle of Tuesday night meetings.
Would that be the evening that the task force would actually?
Because I thought the task force had to meet here.
Well, maybe this was the Lake Nipmuc Association,
Yeah,
and they were starting their regular rotation of meetings. I don't know which Tuesday of every month.
yeah,
And it was just, one of those regular yard signs.
Yeah.
I believe I saw it on Taft Ave, which made sense to me.
You do need to
And
do
what's
a
the
location where you can video. Whether it's here,
yeah,
police station, library.
right, yeah,
So that would indicate to me that it's gonna be a meeting in addition to what they do on. a
yeah,
regular
because
basis.
they do, they have,
Unless they were to try to combine
right.
things that particular time. All right, everybody good?
Everybody's good.
Good.
Motion?
Move.
All right,
Second.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for the cookies.
Set.
Thank you for the
Right,
cookies, lunch and dinner. It was good.
I'm all good. I'm gonna, this phone call,